Maybe it has been a long day. Your thoughts are still moving, quiet but restless, like small waves waiting to settle. Let them drift. Above the hush of the world, light from forgotten stars is still traveling, slow, patient, carrying memories of places that no longer exist. In that darkness, something ancient hums, folding time and silence into a single breath. Astronomers say the universe is filled with these quiet echoes, where stars once burned and now whisper through the fabric of space. Tonight, you will listen to what silence sounds like among the stars, the faint music of what used to shine. Close your eyes if you'd like, and let's drift together. Far beyond the soft horizon of our world, a cloud of dust drifts through the dark, cold, patient, and weightless. Within that stillness, gravity begins its quiet work, gathering every grain closer until a faint warmth stirs at the center. Astronomers believe that when gas grows dense enough, hydrogen begins to fuse into helium, releasing light for the first time. A star is born, a slow, steady flame in the vast silence of space. It breathes in the rhythm of fusion, balancing the inward pull of gravity with the outward push of light. Every second, it releases billions of tiny photons that wander through time, touching worlds that may not yet exist. For millions of years, this balance holds. The star burns without hurry, patient and bright, like a candle that never questions its own flame. Inside, invisible reactions hum. Hydrogen becomes helium, and the cycle repeats like a heartbeat that has forgotten how to stop. From a distance, it seems eternal, a constant glow against the black. But even eternity has its quiet limits. Deep within the core, as fuel turns to heavier elements, the music of fusion begins to slow. The star grows tired, its light softens, and the balance shifts. When the core fills with iron, fusion can no longer feed the fire. Gravity, silent all this time, takes control. The star begins to fold inward, layer by layer, its own weight pressing upon itself. Picture a colossal sphere of fire drawing in its breath, the surface trembling, light flickering, fragments of brilliance peeling away into the dark. To us, it would look like a heartbeat held too long, a last exhale of brilliance before stillness. There is no violence here, only surrender, a return to simplicity, to silence, to form becoming formless again. What remains afterward is not truly gone. The dust, the gas, the fragments of light scatter outward, becoming the seeds of new worlds. From one life's end, countless beginnings emerge, planets, comets, and other stars waiting for their moment to burn. In this slow, graceful exchange, the universe reminds us that nothing ever truly ends. It only changes the way it glows. The death of a star is not destruction, but transformation. A passage from brightness into memory, from memory into space, from space back into light. And perhaps that is the quiet lesson hidden in the stars, that even the brightest fire must rest. And when it does, it leaves warmth behind for others to find. Every end, no matter how distant, carries the shape of a beginning waiting to unfold. Every end in the universe is just a softer kind of beginning. In the silent heart of a dying star, gravity waits. For millions of years, it has lived in balance with the fire inside, pulling inward while fusion pushes outward. But when the fuel fades and the core fills with iron, that harmony breaks. The light that once held the star open begins to falter, and gravity, patient, relentless, finally takes its turn. What happens next unfolds faster than thought, yet feels timeless. The entire heart of the star folds inward, collapsing under its own immense weight. The atoms themselves are pressed so close that they merge, stripped of all space between them, until the matter becomes something the universe can barely describe. Astronomers say that in this moment, a dying star can shrink from the size of a sun to the width of a city. Its mass compressed into a core so dense that a teaspoon of it would outweigh a mountain. Some of these remnants become neutron stars, spinning fast and flashing like cosmic lighthouses across the dark. Others, heavier still, collapse beyond the point of return. Their gravity becomes absolute. No light, no sound, not even time itself can escape. Around this center, space bends like fabric drawn down by an invisible hand, a curve so deep that even the idea of direction begins to lose meaning. To picture it is to imagine stillness taking form. The star, once full of motion and flame, becomes a single point, small, silent, infinite. Scientists call it a singularity, a place where all known rules pause and everything that was once solid becomes possibility. Space no longer stretches the way it did. Time no longer ticks in rhythm. If you were to watch from afar, the star's final light would seem to slow, redshift, and fade until it disappears altogether. Not because it ceased to exist, but because its light can no longer climb out of the well it has made for itself. Yet, there is a strange peace in this collapse. The universe does not mourn. It transforms. The energy of the fall ripples through space, carrying echoes that will move for thousands of years. Gravity does not destroy. It gathers, folds, and holds, reshaping chaos into stillness. It is patience in motion, the universe remembering how to breathe inward. And just as the star folds into darkness, something within us recognizes the gesture. There are moments in a human life when the mind folds in the same way, not from fear, but from the need to protect the fading light inside. We too collapse sometimes, quietly, invisibly, gathering our scattered thoughts into a single center so we can begin again. The gravity that pulls us inward is not cruelty. It is an invitation to rest, to become dense with meaning, to rebuild. Like the star, we learn that even in retreat, there is form. Even in falling, there is grace. And when the silence deepens, what remains is not absence but potential. A space waiting for the next breath, the next spark. The star does not vanish. It prepares. The light pauses only so it can return in a new shape. Gravity is patience in disguise. When the collapse ends, what follows is a breath held between destruction and renewal. The dying star, unable to contain its final pressure, releases everything outward in one immense silent wave. What astronomers call a supernova is not an explosion in the way we imagine sound and flame. It is light unfolding. In the darkness, a ripple of brilliance spreads across space, each photon carrying the memory of the star that once was. Dust, gas, and fragments of atoms scatter into the surrounding void, becoming a golden mist drifting through the cold. It is as if the universe exhales, and the remains of the star become its softest whisper. Over time, that luminous cloud will cool and settle. Within its dust are the elements of everything familiar: carbon, oxygen, iron, and gold. These fragments drift through space, join other clouds, and begin again the long, quiet process of gathering. From the ashes of one sun, new stars will form. Around them, planets will condense, their rocky cores built from what was once a heartbeat of light. The air we breathe, the metal in our blood, the gold in a ring, each carries the memory of some distant fire that ended long before the earth began. In this way, nothing is ever lost. The universe recycles itself endlessly, weaving the remnants of death into the fabric of life. If you could watch it from afar, the scene would look peaceful. A slow cloud expanding, fading, shimmering at its edges. No sound, no chaos, only a gentle movement, like smoke curling through still air. The light weakens as it travels, but even as it fades, it continues to speak. The photons of that final burst will journey across the cosmos for millions of years, long after their source has vanished. Somewhere, someday, one of those faint particles may reach an eye or a telescope, and for an instant, the star will live again. Every glimmer in the night sky might be the echo of such a farewell. There's something deeply human in that image. We too are the dust that lingers after brightness. We leave traces of warmth, of memory, of motion, even when the moment itself has passed. The quiet that follows any great fire is not empty. It hums with what once existed. Energy only changes form. It rests, waiting for another shape, another reason to shine. The universe, in its patient rhythm, teaches that endings are never abrupt. They fade like music slowing to silence, where the final note is not absence but completion. In that calm, creation and remembrance are the same act. Every particle still moves, still sings, still carries the resonance of what once burned. Somewhere in that golden dust lies the beginning of everything yet to come. The fire ends, but its story continues, softly, endlessly, across the dark. Even in silence, the universe hums with memory. Not all darkness is the same. In the great silence of space, there are shadows that breathe, pull, and hold. Astronomers describe 3 kinds of black holes: the stellar, born from the collapse of a single massive star; the intermediate, formed when smaller ones merge together; and the supermassive, resting in the hearts of galaxies, older and heavier than imagination allows. Each one is a doorway of gravity, a well carved into the fabric of reality, where light itself slows, bends, and fades into a stillness so complete it becomes its own kind of beauty. A stellar black hole is like the lingering sigh of a star that once burned bright. It carries the memory of its origin, small and compact, invisible except for the way it bends the light around it. An intermediate black hole, rare and wandering, may drift through clusters of stars, gathering what it can, lost between scales of creation. The supermassive ones, millions or billions of times heavier than the sun, anchor entire galaxies. Around them, stars revolve as if obeying a silent conductor, tracing their orbits to a rhythm that began before any life existed to observe it. They are the hidden hearts of the cosmos, unseen but essential. If one could see these entities directly, they would not appear as monsters, but as wells of stillness. Imagine a smooth, endless surface of space, drawn downward into invisible depth, light hovering at its edge like mist over water. Every black hole, regardless of size, shapes the space around it into gentle curves, sculpting gravity like an artist of silence. In photographs, they appear as dark circles surrounded by glowing rings. Not emptiness, but contrast, where brightness reveals the shape of the void. The dark itself is not violent. It only waits. To drift near such a place, even in thought, is to feel time stretch thin. The closer one moves, the slower moments pass, until every second feels eternal. The universe seems to breathe more slowly there, as though reminding itself to rest. For all their mystery, black holes are not interruptions in the cosmos. They are part of its rhythm. They keep matter moving, recycle energy, and weave the invisible threads that hold galaxies together. The night sky is filled with such unseen centers, each one a reminder that stillness is necessary for motion to exist. Perhaps that is what darkness truly means, not fear, but balance. It is the quiet space that allows light to shine, the pause between breaths that lets the next begin. When you look into the dark, you are not seeing the end of something, but the form it takes while waiting to be reborn. The universe does not hide its secrets there. It rests them gently in silence. Darkness is not absence. It is the shape of rest. Around every black hole, there is a faint and haunting light. Astronomers call it the accretion disk, a halo born not of peace but of motion. When dust and gas wander too close to a black hole's gravity, they do not fall straight in. Instead, they begin to spiral. Each fragment of matter circles faster and faster, colliding, compressing, and heating until it glows. In those last moments before being swallowed, it shines brighter than most stars ever will. The black hole itself remains invisible, but its edge burns with a radiance that tells us it is there. If you could watch this from afar, you would see a perfect contrast, a ring of light swirling around a center of absolute dark. The image resembles a ribbon of gold wrapped around a shadow, a cosmic whirlpool that hums softly in the language of energy. The gas within the disk moves at nearly the speed of light, each particle tracing a path of surrender. Drawn inward, glowing fiercely, then fading beyond the horizon when nothing returns. In that luminous dance, physics turns into poetry. The light curves, time stretches, and space itself becomes fluid, bending to the weight of the unseen. Scientists study these disks not only for their beauty, but because they reveal the nature of gravity itself. The brightness, the temperature, even the shape of the ring tell us how fast the black hole spins and how it feeds. Some disks flare for brief moments, releasing streams of energy that reach across galaxies. Others remain steady for centuries, quiet and constant, like lanterns burning on the edge of forever. The black hole consumes, but it also creates, transforming motion into light, devouring chaos only to give the universe something to see. And yet, beyond the science, there is something deeply human in this sight. The light never touches the center. It only circles, drawn close but never allowed to arrive. There are things in life that feel the same. Thoughts, memories, or people we cannot reach, yet cannot stop orbiting. They hold us in gentle gravity, not cruel, but inevitable, reminding us that some distances are meant to remain. We move around them, shining a little from the friction of our longing, until at last, we too learn to let go. Still, the beauty remains undeniable. The glow around the dark is proof that not all endings are silent. Some fade while still singing, their brightness carved by the shadow that defines it. In the space between light and absence, The universe whispers its quiet truth, that illumination does not disappear when it meets darkness. It simply changes the way it moves. Light does not vanish. It learns to orbit the dark. Even in the deepest silence of the cosmos, there are moments when darkness flares with unimaginable power. At the poles of some black holes, where magnetic fields twist and tension builds, jets of light and energy erupt outward, vast focused streams that pierce through the void. Astronomers call them quasars, the brightest beacons in the universe. They are born when matter spirals inward faster than it can fall, compressing, colliding, and igniting under forces no surface could survive. And yet, instead of vanishing, part of that energy escapes, shooting outward at nearly the speed of light. What should have been consumed becomes a signal that can travel billions of years across time. From a distance, a quasar looks like a wound of light in the fabric of night. Sharp, brilliant, alive. Imagine it as a pulse from the heart of the galaxy, a thread of white fire cutting across endless black. Some reach for hundreds of thousands of light years, straight and unwavering, as if the universe itself were exhaling through narrow lungs. Each jet carries away heat, matter, and information, shaping the space around it, feeding the interstellar medium from which new stars may one day form. Within destruction, the universe rehearses creation again and again. The process is violent in scale but serene in meaning. It follows the same patience as every cosmic rhythm: collapse, release, rebalance. The black hole takes in more than it gives, but never everything. There is always some remainder, a whisper of resistance that becomes light. Scientists say these quasars are among the earliest and most distant objects we can see. Their photons arriving long after the galaxies that birthed them have changed beyond recognition. To observe one is to witness time compressed, a relic of a universe still learning how to expand. Yet for all their magnitude, quasars also speak softly about survival. They show that even when gravity seems absolute, the laws of nature still leave room for escape. Energy finds its outlet, the way rivers carve paths through stone. The light that bursts from the brink of oblivion reminds us that no system, however powerful, is perfect in its containment. There is always an opening, a way for creation to slip through the cracks of destruction. The same is true in smaller lives. When pressure builds, when darkness closes in, something within us resists complete collapse. It finds direction, however narrow, and moves toward light again. In the grand balance of the cosmos, every downfall carries its opposite. Every implosion sends out a quiet echo of renewal. The black hole, though named for its hunger, becomes a forge of radiance. The quasar is that paradox made visible. The universe proving that endings are never final, that brightness is born in the very places that should have none. Creation hides inside every collapse. In the deep distance of space, light is rarely free to travel in a straight line. Every star, every planet, every invisible cloud of mass exerts its quiet pull, bending the path of brightness without ever touching it. Astronomers call this phenomenon gravitational lensing. the subtle art of gravity curving light around itself. When a beam from a faraway galaxy passes near a massive object, the space it moves through is stretched, and the light follows that curve. To us, it may appear as rings, arcs, or multiple images of the same star, an illusion shaped by gravity's invisible hand. It is strange to think that space itself can behave like glass. Einstein once described it as a fabric, able to warp and ripple under the presence of mass. When light passes near something heavy, it flows around the distortion, like water gliding past a submerged stone. The path may bend, but it never breaks. The observer, far away, receives a vision slightly altered, a glimpse of something both familiar and foreign. Sometimes this bending magnifies distant galaxies we would otherwise never see, turning gravity into a natural telescope. The very thing that pulls light inward helps us see farther than we ever could on our own. Imagine watching such a sight unfold, a distant quasar flickering behind an unseen cluster of galaxies, its glow stretched into a delicate halo. The light appears multiplied, mirrored, a soft distortion that feels more like a dream than a measurement. It traveled for billions of years, only to find its path changed at the last moment, looping gently around an obstacle before reaching us. And yet, that curve adds depth, revealing the unseen presence of matter we cannot detect directly. Through its bending, light tells us what gravity refuses to show. There is a quiet lesson hidden in that movement. Not every truth reveals itself in straight lines. Sometimes, what we understand comes only after detours. The mind bending, adapting, finding perspective through the curve. The universe reminds us that clarity does not always mean simplicity. The way light learns to flow around gravity is how understanding learns to move around uncertainty. We are guided not by force, but by the shapes of what we cannot see. Even gravity, in all its strength, guides gently. It never pushes, it only invites. The stars and galaxies follow its pull not in resistance, but in harmony, tracing orbits that last for eons. To watch light bend is to witness a kind of patience, the willingness to change direction without losing purpose. In that curve, the cosmos teaches grace, a reminder that there is beauty in the way we adapt, in how we move softly around what cannot be overcome. Even gravity knows how to guide without force. For centuries, the idea of a black hole belonged only to mathematics and imagination. It was a thought experiment, a strange prediction from Einstein's theory of relativity. That space could bend so deeply, even light would fail to escape. Many believed it was only a curiosity of equations, something elegant but unreal. Then, in 1971, a faint X-ray signal changed everything. It came from a small region of the sky within the constellation of Cygnus, the Swan, a quiet patch of night that suddenly began to hum with invisible light. The source was named Cygnus X1, and with it, humanity glimpsed the first real evidence that Einstein's impossible idea might in fact exist. The discovery was not made through sight, but through listening. Satellites designed to detect high-energy radiation caught the whisper. Bursts of X-rays flickering in regular patterns, rising and fading with the rhythm of something unseen. Scientists soon realized that what they were hearing was the story of a star being slowly pulled apart by an unseen companion, a gravitational giant hidden in the dark. The black hole itself emitted no light, but the gas spiraling toward it glowed fiercely before vanishing, revealing its presence not by what it gave, but by what it took. It was the first time the human race had proof that such entities were real. The universe, vast and indifferent, had spoken, not with thunder or flame, but with a murmur soft enough to miss if one wasn't paying attention. Cygnus X1 became a symbol of patience, of the quiet precision that connects thought to discovery. Across observatories, physicists and dreamers alike felt a shared stillness, the awe of knowing that something once imagined had finally stepped into the light of truth. Einstein's vision had reached its echo across half a century. From that small pulse of radiation, a doorway opened. We began to look deeper, to listen more closely, to search for more signs of these invisible hearts scattered across the cosmos. Dozens became hundreds, and hundreds became thousands, each one confirming that the universe holds far more than what our eyes can see. And though these discoveries are measured in data and numbers, their impact is profoundly human. It reminds us that our species, fragile and small, is capable of finding meaning in the faintest shimmer of possibility. There is beauty in the way understanding begins, not with brilliance, but with a whisper. Just as a star's final sigh reveals the black hole that remains, so too does knowledge often come from the smallest signals, amplified by patience and wonder. A single photon, a trembling graph line, a pulse of X-rays across endless dark. They are the quiet bridges between mystery and truth. The universe rarely shouts. It prefers to hum, softly, endlessly, waiting for someone to listen. And when we do, we find that even the most distant silence has a voice. A whisper from the stars is enough to awaken wonder. The night sky looks silent, but it is full of voices. Every star, planet, and cloud of dust hums with invisible waves, rippling softly through the vacuum. These waves are not light that eyes can see, but radio. Long, gentle signals that travel vast distances, carrying the universe's quiet confessions. To hear them, humanity built instruments that do not see, but listen. Radio telescopes, enormous dishes of metal spread across mountains and deserts, tilted toward the heavens like open palms. They do not capture images. They collect echoes. Each antenna is an ear pressed against infinity. When hundreds of these antennas are linked together, they form a single listening body, vast enough to map the unseeable. Astronomers call this method interferometry, the art of weaving faint signals into a single coherent voice. With it, the whispers of distant galaxies and the hum of black holes become patterns we can understand. The light from those depths has long vanished, but its radio waves remain, patient and tireless, crossing billions of miles to arrive at our waiting instruments. In those faint murmurs, scientists find evidence of things that cannot be photographed. Magnetic fields twisting near black holes, matter spinning just before it disappears, and the faint tremors of stars consumed by gravity's embrace. If one could stand among these telescopes, the scene would feel almost sacred. Wide bowls of silver rise from the earth, facing the sky in silent attention. They move slowly, turning together as if drawn by breath. There is no sound, yet the air seems to hum with listening. The universe is speaking, but not in a language of words. It speaks through rhythm. The spacing of pulses, the delay between frequencies, the harmony of waves stretched by time. It is music too vast for human ears, and yet, through technology and patience, we have learned to hear its tune. What these machines reveal goes beyond the scientific. They remind us that not all truth needs to be seen to be known. Faith, in its gentlest form, is a kind of listening, trusting that what we sense but cannot observe still exists, still matters. The same is true in the cosmos. We do not see the black hole itself, yet we hear its presence through the trembling of nearby stars and the murmurs of light torn apart. In that way, knowledge becomes an act of trust, a quiet partnership between human curiosity and the universe's silence. In the end, the great telescopes teach something simple. Understanding is not always found through sight. Sometimes it is discovered in stillness, through the patience of listening. The cosmos does not demand attention. It rewards those who wait. When we learn to hear what has no voice, the night stops being empty. It becomes full of stories we were always part of. Stories written in wavelengths too long for eyes but perfectly clear for those who choose to listen. To understand the universe, one must learn to listen. At the heart of every galaxy, there is a quiet force that holds everything together. Astronomers call it a supermassive black hole, an object so dense that it could contain millions, sometimes billions, of suns within a space no larger than a single star. Invisible, yet undeniable, it anchors the luminous chaos of its galaxy, keeping stars in orbit, guiding their paths through the dark. Around it, billions of suns turn like sparks in a slow and graceful dance, circling something they will never see. What we call a galaxy is, in truth, a symphony of light held in rhythm by gravity's invisible hand. Seen from afar, the structure of a galaxy is mesmerizing. Spirals of stars stretch outward like arms, glowing clouds of gas drift between them, and at the center, a still shadow. There, in that calm, the laws of motion find balance. The stars whirl around it for eons, never colliding, never drifting away. To the human eye, this may look like motion without rest, yet in the vast scale of the cosmos, it is harmony. The black hole's gravity does not tear the galaxy apart. It keeps it alive, setting a beat for all things to follow. It is the silent heart of an enormous body, pulsing so slowly that one revolution may take hundreds of millions of years. If one could translate that movement into sound, it would not be a roar but a hum, low, deep, and steady. It is the rhythm of stability, the reminder that even in endless motion, there exists a center of calm. Scientists believe that without these dark anchors, galaxies would drift apart, their stars scattering into lonely space. The black hole's gravity binds them like an unseen thread, giving structure to what would otherwise dissolve. The universe's beauty depends not only on the light we see, but also on the darkness that holds it steady. In this cosmic arrangement lies a lesson both vast and intimate. Every system, every life carries a center, a still point that defines the orbit of everything else. For planets, it is gravity. For galaxies, a black hole. For a person, it may be a memory, a purpose, or a moment of peace that all other thoughts revolve around. To remain stable is not to stop moving. It is to know where your balance lives. The universe spins endlessly, yet At its core, there is silence. The stars that orbit their dark centers are not afraid of the void. They move with trust, bound by invisible laws they do not question. And so it is with life. We move, we change, yet something deep within keeps us aligned. A quiet gravity that guides us through the motion. Even when everything seems to spin, there is always a stillness beneath it all, keeping the rhythm, holding the form, whispering that chaos too can be graceful. Stillness is the hidden rhythm of every orbit. In the middle of our galaxy, hidden behind thick clouds of interstellar dust, lies a presence older than the stars that circle it. Astronomers call it Sagittarius A, a supermassive black hole 4 million times heavier than the Sun. It rests quietly at the heart of the Milky Way, invisible to the human eye, yet powerful enough to shape the motions of everything that surrounds it. Stars, gas, and dust drift around this center as if tracing the outline of something sacred, orbiting a gravity so immense that time itself moves differently near its edge. It does not shine, but it governs. It does not speak, but it commands. To imagine it is to picture a great clock in slow motion. Each star becomes a luminous hand turning in perfect silence, their movements guided by an unseen mechanism. The region around Sagittarius A is crowded. Millions of suns packed together in a sphere only a few light years wide. Some move at unimaginable speed, whipped around by the black hole's pull, their paths curving like ribbons caught in a current. And yet, despite the chaos, there is a pattern, a rhythm so steady it feels eternal. The entire galaxy, from its glowing arms to its dim outskirts, turns in harmony with this single dark heart. Scientists first suspected its existence by studying the stars nearest to the center. They noticed their orbits shifting rapidly, completing full circles in mere decades, far faster than stars elsewhere in the Milky Way. The only explanation was an invisible mass at the core, a concentration of gravity beyond comprehension. Decades later, with the help of radio telescopes, they finally glimpsed the faint glow of gas swirling near the event horizon, a whisper of light marking the edge of silence. It confirmed what had long been believed, that even unseen, Sagittarius A defines the motion of our home galaxy. There is something deeply comforting in that thought. Though it cannot be observed directly, its presence is undeniable. The Milky Way's spiral arms, the stars that illuminate our night sky, even the sun itself, all move in response to this hidden anchor. It reminds us that influence does not require noise, and that the strongest forces in nature are often those we cannot see. The gravity of Sagittarius A Saccais does not announce itself with violence. It simply endures, holding everything in place with patient strength. We may never touch it or see it clearly, but we feel its effect in the most literal way. In the steady orbit of our solar system, in the rhythm of cosmic time that measures our existence, the center of the galaxy does not need light to matter. Its silence is its authority. It teaches, in its immense calm, that power does not always roar. Sometimes it hums quietly beneath the surface of things, shaping the world without asking to be seen. Power need not be loud to be real. Near the center of the Milky Way, the stars move with astonishing speed. They circle an unseen point, their orbits twisting like threads of gold around a dark and silent heart. Astronomers have measured their motion. Some travel thousands of kilometers each second, faster than any planet, faster than any wind. Only an immense gravitational pull could keep them bound, an invisible force holding chaos in rhythm. This is how we know what cannot be seen, through the movement of everything it touches. The stars do not need to speak to prove the presence of what commands them. Their motion is evidence, their light the signature of gravity's breath. Viewed from afar, the region looks alive. Thousands of points of light swirl together, weaving a pattern that seems both random and perfectly composed. To imagine it is to picture dust caught in a great inhale. Particles of gold and fire drawn toward a single center, then released again in cosmic exhalation. The galaxy itself becomes a living thing. Its arms like lungs, its center, the chest that rises and falls over millions of years. Each orbit, each pulse of energy becomes a breath, slow beyond measure but steady as a heartbeat. In this way, motion becomes serenity. The Milky Way breathes not in seconds, but in epochs. For astronomers, watching this dance is to glimpse time in another scale. They measure the curves of light, the shifting of positions, the faint red and blue of moving stars. What they see is not random movement, but balance, an endless flow between fall and flight, gravity and light, pull and release. Every revolution is a conversation between motion and stillness. The faster the stars race, the deeper the calm at the center that holds them. Even the most furious velocity cannot escape the embrace of equilibrium. The black hole at the heart of the galaxy, silent and unlit, becomes a kind of metronome for creation, marking time in invisible beats. To think of the galaxy this way is to understand the universe as something that breathes, not something that merely exists. We too move through cycles of expansion and rest, of reaching and returning. There are times we are drawn inward, pulled by gravity, by thought, by memory, by quiet reflection. Then slowly, we exhale, letting the world move again. Life follows the same pattern as galaxies, moments of compression followed by release, each breath reminding us that stillness and motion are not opposites, but partners. If you could listen to the Milky Way, perhaps you would not hear chaos, but a low, steady hum, the sound of balance across unimaginable distance. The stars rush endlessly, yet the rhythm never breaks. The galaxy inhales and exhales through time, and somewhere inside that vast pulse, our small world turns, carried along by the same gentle cadence. Even galaxies remember to breathe. There is a kind of question that lingers quietly at the edge of human curiosity, one that feels more like a longing than a puzzle. How do you see something that refuses to be seen? A black hole, by definition, allows no light to escape, no image to return. It is a place where brightness ends, where sight itself folds inward. And yet, humanity has never been content with darkness. Across decades, scientists have turned their instruments toward the void, not because they expected to capture light, but because they hoped to understand the absence of it. To photograph a black hole is to attempt the impossible, to look directly at the shape of nothingness. In observatories scattered across deserts and mountains, men and women stood beneath the same sky, listening to the silence that hides between stars. They were not chasing a beam of light, but a whisper, the faint glow of gas as it spirals toward oblivion. Telescopes recorded patterns of radiation, signals that had crossed millions of years to reach us. Somewhere within those waves, hidden in the noise, was a clue to the shape of the unseeable. It was not a chase for beauty, but for truth. And yet, the beauty was inevitable. The beauty of minds reaching into darkness and finding meaning there. The paradox of the black hole is not only scientific, but deeply human. To seek it is to confront our own boundaries, to admit that knowledge begins where certainty ends. The question, how do we see the invisible, is really a mirror. It asks what kind of beings we are, that we insist on understanding even what cannot be touched. Each calculation, each sleepless night in front of a telescope, is a gesture of faith that the universe can be known, if only we learn to listen in the right way. The effort itself becomes an act of wonder, a testament to the quiet audacity of curiosity. There is also humility in that pursuit. To gaze into what swallows light is to recognize the limits of our own brightness. We build tools that stretch the reach of our eyes. We gather data until patterns emerge. And yet the heart of the mystery remains, a silence that will not yield. The black hole does not resist. It simply exists, unbothered by the questions we project upon it. It teaches by being what it is, absolute, patient, complete. Perhaps that is the lesson, that some answers cannot be found, only witnessed. And still, we keep looking. Because to search for the unseen is not to expect victory, but to participate in the act of understanding itself. The attempt reveals more about us than about the object we seek. It reminds us that curiosity is the most human of lights, small, fragile, but capable of reaching into eternity. The photograph we dream of is not just an image of a black hole. It is a reflection of the mind that dared to imagine it could be seen at all. To seek the unseen is to understand yourself. There was a time, not long ago, when humanity decided to see as one. The goal was simple yet impossible: to capture the image of a black hole, an object that does not shine. To do so required more than a telescope. It required an entire planet to look together. Thus was born the Event Horizon Telescope, a network of radio observatories scattered across the Earth, each listening to the same whisper in the dark. From the dry heights of Chile to the volcanic slopes of Hawaii, from the deserts of Mexico to the plateaus of Spain and the ice of the South Pole, each station turned its face toward a single point in the sky. Together, they formed one vast, patient eye. No single telescope could see clearly enough. The black hole at the heart of our galaxy was far too small and distant. Its details blurred beyond any lens's reach. But by linking telescopes across continents, scientists created an instrument the size of the Earth itself, one capable of resolving the finest structure nature can offer. They synchronized their observations with atomic clocks, recording radio waves with the precision of nanoseconds. As our planet spun, each observatory captured a fragment of the cosmic hum, a thin slice of the universe's quiet light. Later, those fragments would be combined, a mosaic of data stitched together to reveal the shape of the invisible. Imagine it, an entire world pausing to look in the same direction. Hundreds of people across dozens of countries, separated by language and distance, but united by a single act of attention. The Earth became an eye, the atmosphere its lens, the telescopes its pupils. The signal they sought was faint, scattered, easily lost amid the noise of the cosmos. Yet they listened, night after night, gathering threads of light that had traveled for 26,000 years to reach us. There was something profoundly human in that patience, a collective heartbeat that spanned oceans and hemispheres. When the data finally converged, it was not a photograph in the usual sense, but a translation. Invisible radio waves transformed into an image of color and shadow. Still, it was enough. Humanity had glimpsed what had only existed in theory: the edge of a black hole where light itself surrenders. In that moment, the distance between people felt smaller. The barriers of nation, culture, and time seemed to fade, replaced by the quiet certainty that we are all standing on the same small world, listening to the same endless sky. The Event Horizon Telescope was not just a triumph of science, it was a gesture of unity. It proved that understanding the universe is not the work of one mind, but of many minds, moving in harmony. Like the telescopes it connected, humanity too becomes clear only when its paths align. The black hole taught us something unexpected, that to see the unseen, we must first learn to look together, to listen in unison, to become one patient, watching eye. To see the unseen, we must listen together. In April of 2019, the world paused to look at a single image, a ring of light surrounding a darkness that no one had ever truly seen before. It came from the galaxy Messier 87, 55 million light-years away, captured by the combined gaze of the Event Horizon Telescope. For the first time, humanity had done the unthinkable. We had taken a picture of a black hole, an object defined by its refusal to be seen. What appeared was simple: a faint blurred circle glowing against a field of black, yet in its simplicity lived a century of dreams, equations, and patient waiting. The image did not roar with drama, it whispered. A soft amber halo curled around a perfect void, the edge of light bending before vanishing into silence. It looked like the eye of creation itself, both alive and still. Scientists called it the Event Horizon, the threshold between being and nothingness. Every photon in that image had survived an impossible journey, twisting around gravity's curve before escaping outward to tell its story. The light we saw had left its source millions of years before human civilization began. And there it was now, fragile, imperfect, and completely real. Around the world, people stared at that picture and felt the same quiet wonder. It was not just data, it was proof that imagination could meet reality. The blurred ring was more than a scientific victory. It was a mirror of belief. For generations, we had trusted equations, simulations, and unseen evidence, building knowledge from faith in reason. The black hole had been an idea born from mathematics, yet that day, it became something visible, tangible, human. It was as if the universe had opened one eye and looked back. Scientists described the moment in calm, precise language, but there was emotion beneath every word. Some had spent their entire lives chasing this image, waking before dawn to calibrate instruments, writing code that sifted signals from noise, comparing models that hinted at what could be. When the picture finally appeared on their screens, it was not shock they felt, but recognition. They had always known it was there. Now the universe had confirmed it. In that shared silence, awe replaced noise. It was a moment when knowledge itself seemed to breathe. There is something deeply human in our need to see. We look not only to confirm, but to connect, to make the vastness around us feel personal. The first image of a black hole did not make the cosmos smaller. It made our place within it more profound. It reminded us that even when vision falters, understanding can still find a way. Clarity is not the same as truth, and perfection is not the measure of meaning. Sometimes, to see something only partly is enough. Enough to know it exists. Enough to remember that mystery can coexist with knowledge. That glowing ring around the dark was more than light. It was faith made visible, curiosity made real. The universe had whispered its answer, and we for once had the patience to listen. Even blurred truth is still light. 3 years after the world first saw the black hole in Messier 87, the same network of telescopes turned its gaze inward, toward the center of our own galaxy. It was 2022 when the Event Horizon Telescope revealed a new image. The black hole known as Sagittarius A, the heart of the Milky Way. This one was closer but harder to see. Hidden behind dense clouds of dust and gas, it spun so fast that its light blurred before the instruments could catch it. What emerged was a soft golden ring wrapped around a shadow, not as clear as the first, but far more intimate. For the first time, humanity had seen the center of its own home, the silent core that has guided our solar system's slow orbit for billions of years. The scientists who worked on it called the image a challenge of patience. The black hole's environment changed every few minutes, like waves shifting under wind, and the light we received had crossed 26,000 years of space to reach us. To form a single picture, they gathered data from telescopes around the world, combining fragments of faint radio whispers into a single image. The result was imperfect, blurred, breathing, like a heartbeat captured through fog. Yet, when it was shown to the world, it carried the same power as a memory returned after too long. The Milky Way, the galaxy that holds our sun, our planets, and everything we have ever known, now had a face. It was not a grand face, nor a clear one. It was soft, indistinct, almost shy, a faint glow circling an invisible core. But there was tenderness in its imperfection, as though the universe had finally turned the camera inward, not to impress, but to remind. This was our center, our quiet anchor in the vast spinning dark. While millions of other stars burned in every direction, all of them, including our sun, revolved gently around this dark heart. To look at the image was to look back toward home, toward the point of gravity that has always been holding us, even when we didn't know. The scientists spoke of physics and data, but many could not hide the emotion in their voices. For the first time, we were seeing what we had only imagined, the hidden core of our own galaxy. It was both humbling and comforting, a reminder that even when our eyes cannot see through the dust, something constant waits at the center. The Milky Way's heart is not a place of fire, but of gravity, not of noise, but of stillness. It draws everything close, holds everything steady, then lets it drift again, as all homes do. And perhaps that is why this image mattered so deeply. It was proof that beauty exists even in the unseen, that belonging can be found in silence. We live on a small planet circling a modest star, orbiting a shadow that never shines, yet shapes everything we know. The heart of the galaxy may be dark, but it is ours. It is where every journey, cosmic or human, quietly returns. Home is where the light circles the dark. From the images of black holes, scientists began to see more than beauty. They began to understand how the universe breathes. Each line of data, each pulse of radiation, revealed clues about the invisible mechanics of creation. Around the edge of every black hole, matter and energy twist together like threads of cosmic silk. Magnetic fields wrap around them, shaping the flow of gas into spiraling streams of light. From this dance come the forces that sculpt galaxies, guiding how stars form and how space itself evolves. What seems like destruction at the heart of darkness is, in truth, one of the engines of the cosmos. The Event Horizon Telescope did not only capture images, it captured behavior. Radio waves, emitted by particles racing near the speed of light, told stories about heat and motion, about chaos organized into rhythm. Scientists compared these signals to models, listening to the way light bends, flares, and fades. Each flicker became a note in an unseen symphony. The more they studied, the more they discovered that even near the brink of collapse, the universe follows patterns of elegance, structures woven through gravity and time. There, at the edge of the abyss, physics becomes poetry, pure energy turning into light, light turning into silence. To study something so patient, scientists themselves must become patient. Black holes do not rush to reveal their nature. Their lessons arrive in slow pulses, stretched across years of observation, carried in signals so faint they can be mistaken for noise. To learn from them is to practice stillness, to wait for meaning to emerge from the quiet. And in that waiting, something human happens. The mind learns humility. It learns that not everything yields to force, and that knowledge grows best in the soil of persistence. Perhaps that is the most profound truth hidden in the darkness. Black holes do not speak loudly, yet they hold the story of galaxies. They remind us that silence is not emptiness, but depth. That the absence of light can still contain warmth, gravity, and the promise of creation. The scientists who listened to them, patiently collecting fragments of invisible sound, became part of that story too. They stood between knowing and unknowing, between light and dark, and chose to stay. And so, the black hole became a teacher, not only of physics, but of perspective. It showed us that time itself bends under the weight of understanding, that even in the most mysterious corners of existence, there is structure, order, and quiet meaning. It taught us that the universe is not in a hurry, and neither should we be. For in the long silence between stars, in the slow revelation of truth, the light that survives the dark is not brightness. It is patience. Patience is the light that survives the dark. The story of the Event Horizon Telescope did not end with a single photograph. It was never meant to. Even now, the network continues to grow, stretching its vision wider across the Earth. New observatories join from mountaintops and deserts, each one adding a new thread to the planet's great web of sight. Together, they keep listening, refining their focus, reaching for sharper clarity. The Earth spins, and with every rotation, the line of vision shifts slightly, revealing a little more of what once seemed unreachable. The goal is not only to see better, but to understand deeper, to follow the patterns of light and gravity until they reveal the quiet architecture of the universe. In this global effort, there is a rhythm that mirrors life itself. Every station listens, records, and sends its findings into a shared memory that spans the globe, from the icy South Pole to the warm mountains of Chile, from the quiet plains of Europe to the volcanic peaks of Hawaii. The planet hums with the sound of curiosity. It is as though Earth has become a living organism, its telescopes the eyes, its cables the nerves, its collective purpose to look inward and outward at once. The black holes they study are far away, yet through this unity of observation, we are learning more about ourselves, about our persistence, our cooperation, and our unending thirst to know. The more we see, the more questions appear. Every image opens another door, every measurement deepens the mystery. How do black holes grow and merge? What happens to matter beyond their threshold? Can we ever glimpse the moment when light truly vanishes? These are questions with no final answers, but that is what makes the search so beautiful. Curiosity, not certainty, is what keeps science alive. It is what keeps the stars awake, the constant hum of inquiry that echoes through the cosmos, reminding the universe that someone, somewhere, is listening. In a way, the Event Horizon Telescope is not just a tool. It is a symbol of humanity's collective gaze, quiet, patient, and infinite. Long after the first images have faded from headlines, the work continues, quietly building the next chapter of discovery. Future generations will inherit clearer pictures, finer instruments, and deeper understanding, but the feeling will remain the same. That sense of wonder when the invisible becomes visible, even for a moment. The journey does not end because curiosity does not rest. It turns endlessly, like the earth beneath our feet, like the stars above that never stop burning. We are part of that motion, always seeking, always learning, always dreaming, and somewhere in the dark, between the hum of radio waves and the silence of space, the universe continues to whisper its secrets to those patient enough to listen. Curiosity keeps the stars awake. Near a black hole, even time begins to waver. The pull of gravity grows so strong that it stretches the fabric of reality itself, slowing the passage of seconds until they drift apart like distant waves. To an observer far away, a moment near the event horizon could last forever. Light bends, clocks hesitate, and motion becomes a whisper. It is one of the strangest truths in physics that gravity can shape not just matter, but time itself. Around these silent giants, the universe hums in a slower rhythm, a deeper note in the cosmic symphony. If you could stand close enough to watch, you would see moments elongate, their edges softening like the fade of a final chord. The glow of a star falling inward would appear to freeze, its light stretching thinner and thinner until it vanished into stillness. To those nearby, everything would continue as normal. But to distant eyes, time itself would seem to hold its breath. This is not illusion, but the quiet reality of space. the way the cosmos respects gravity's patience. Each second near a black hole lingers, echoing like a sustained note that never quite fades. Scientists call it gravitational time dilation, yet the name hardly captures the wonder of it. Here, physics and poetry meet. The black hole, so often imagined as violent and devouring, instead becomes a teacher of stillness. It shows us that even the most unstoppable force knows how to pause. Every particle that approaches its horizon slows, as if bowing in reverence before crossing into the unknown. In this boundary between light and darkness, time does not end. It simply listens. There is something profoundly peaceful in that idea. In our lives, we chase moments, measure hours, and hurry through days, forgetting that stillness too is part of existence. Near a black hole, the universe reminds us that waiting is not wasted. It is sacred. The slowing of time, there is not a failure, but a form of balance. A reminder that even the flow of the cosmos can find rest. In silence, meaning gathers. In slowness, harmony forms. Perhaps that is why black holes, though they are the quietest places in space, draw us with such fascination. They are not merely objects of destruction, but sanctuaries of stillness. The pauses between the beats of creation. Around them, space itself listens, patient and infinite, waiting for the next note to begin. The universe is full of soundless music, and near a black hole, that music deepens into something eternal. It teaches us that quiet does not mean absence, that stillness does not mean the end. Sometimes even time must rest to remember what it means to move. Even time pauses to listen. In the deepest silence of a black hole, where even light seems to vanish, there is still a faint whisper of existence. Physicists call it Hawking radiation, a slow, ghostly glow that escapes from the edge of the void. It is not a beam or a flare, but a soft exhalation of energy, so delicate it takes eons to be noticed. Stephen Hawking proposed that the emptiness around a black hole is never truly empty. Space itself seethes with invisible particles, appearing and disappearing in pairs. When one is caught by the black hole's pull and the other escapes, a tiny breath of light is released into the cosmos. Over unimaginable time, these faint sighs allow even a black hole to fade. Nothing, it seems, is beyond transformation. Imagine those particles as memories, small, weightless, and persistent. Each one carries the faint imprint of what once was, drifting gently away from the event horizon like sparks from a dying fire. They rise through the darkness, unseen but enduring, merging again with the starlit fabric of space. The black hole, once thought to erase everything, becomes a slow storyteller, letting its secrets unravel grain by grain. The light does not rush. It lingers, remembering the paths it once traveled, the stars it once touched. In this way, the universe ensures that no story ends abruptly. To see this not as a theory, but as a philosophy, is to find comfort in the idea that nothing truly disappears. The energy that falls into darkness does not die. It changes form. The same is true of all things, of stars, of worlds, of lives. What seems lost is often only transformed, waiting to reappear in gentler ways. Hawking radiation becomes a cosmic metaphor for memory itself. Quiet, invisible, yet enduring. Even the universe, vast and ancient, seems to practice remembrance. Scientists continue to debate the details, wondering how information could survive such extremes, how reality itself records every flicker of existence. But beyond the equations lies a softer truth, that the universe forgets nothing. Every photon, every breath, every whisper leaves a trace. Somewhere in the weave of space and time, the record of every moment remains, not as words or images, but as the simple fact of having been. Perhaps that is why we feel moved by the stars, because in their light, we sense the persistence of everything that ever was. The glow we see tonight began its journey before our species existed, yet it arrives here, still intact, carrying the memory of ancient fire. The black hole too participates in this endless cycle of giving and returning. What it swallows, it eventually releases, transformed into something quieter, softer, eternal. The lesson is simple but profound. Disappearance is an illusion. All things continue in one form or another. Light into memory, memory into time, time into silence. Nothing is ever truly gone. It only changes its way of being. All across the planet, great dishes of metal turn their faces toward the sky. They do not look for light, but for sound. The faint hum of radio waves that have been traveling through space for billions of years. These waves are older than humanity, older than Earth's oceans, older even than our sun. They are echoes from the beginning, still crossing the silence. The radio observatories scattered around the world, in deserts, mountains, and frozen plains, are our ears to the cosmos. Together, they form a listening planet, a world that leans closer to the stars to hear what remains of creation's first whispers. If you could listen as they do, you would not hear words, but patterns. Soft pulses, steady rhythms, the ancient music of motion. Each wave carries information, not in melody, but in presence. The static that fills the receivers is not empty noise. It is the background heartbeat of the universe itself. It hums with the memory of exploding stars, the birth of galaxies, and the long breath of time. Earth, in its quiet rotation, becomes an enormous ear pressed against the infinite, recording the symphony of space. Astronomers call this cosmic background radiation, a relic of the universe's earliest light. It fills every direction, every inch of the night, a constant reminder that we live inside an echo. The instruments that detect it translate invisible signals into meaning, turning silence into knowledge. Yet even beyond the science, there is something profoundly poetic in the act. The universe speaks not through language, but through rhythm, and humanity has chosen to listen. Each telescope, each data stream is a small act of reverence, a way of saying, we are here and we are listening. There is comfort in knowing that even the most distant stars leave traces of their existence. Their light may fade, but their voices remain, folded into the radio waves that wash gently across our world. To listen to them is to take part in a vast communion, a conversation without beginning or end. And in that conversation, we are not separate observers, but participants. One small note in an endless composition. The cosmos does not play favorites. It includes everything in its music: stars, dust, planets, and the fragile hum of human thought. In the great stillness of space, every sound becomes sacred. The whispers of distant galaxies, the sighs of dying stars, even the faint hiss of cosmic background light, all are part of the same eternal harmony. As the telescopes continue their patient listening, they remind us that our place in the universe is not defined by what we can see, but by what we choose to hear. We are not just listeners to the cosmic song. We are notes within it, quiet, fleeting, but essential. The universe hums, and we hum back softly in wonder. You are part of the song that never ends. If your thoughts are still wandering, that's all right. Let them drift where they wish, across memories, across light. The universe has always needed dreamers, people who float between what is known and what might be. Breathe slowly now. Feel the air move in and out like the tide, quiet and sure. Somewhere far above, the same rhythm echoes. Stars expanding and cooling, galaxies spinning in silence, everything breathing together. Every sound, every stillness you've heard tonight came from something real. From stars that still burn, from atoms that still dance through time. You are made of them, built from the same dust that glows beyond the horizon. The warmth in your chest, the pulse in your hands. They are pieces of the cosmos remembering themselves. What we've done here is not to teach, but to listen together to the quiet rhythm of existence. So rest now. Let your mind grow soft like gravity's pull easing into sleep. The stars will keep watch while you dream, patient and bright, just as they have for every traveler before you. And if you're still awake, that's all right too. Stay a little longer and we'll drift into another story, somewhere gentle, somewhere waiting.